So look, I'm curious, right? How many of you all believe that knowledge is power? Knowledge is power. Thank you, Nordine from DeSoto, Texas. And how many of you all, yes, Zarina's here from Conyers, Georgia, by way of Oakland. So how many of y'all believe knowledge is power? How many of you, you've read those personal development books and you've taken those classes and things, right? And how many of you all still find yourself stressed out sometimes and feel like you're not as far along as you'd like to be in business and life? Huh? Yes. Thank you. Yes. Welcome, Casey, from Pittsburgh, California. So now, if we've read all these books and we think knowledge is power, then so much for this idea that knowledge is power. We still find ourselves stressed out, etc. Because we've been deceived, you know. We've been taught some things that aren't totally true. Because knowledge is not power. The truth is applied knowledge is power. And application of knowledge is the biggest stumbling block for most people. Well, why is that so? Because of a lack of consciousness. And we're operating from old patterns of beliefs, old patterns of thinking and feeling. And people are failing to understand that their beliefs dictate their destiny, right? What you believe and what you think produce the emotional, neurological, and physical outcomes in business and in life. Hey, Alicia, we see you. Welcome. Yes, applied knowledge is power. So the question is, how do you change something that you know doesn't serve you well, but that you've been believing for so long and that you have so much evidence for? And that's the question we intend to answer today. But first, I want to acknowledge and appreciate you for being here because I know what it takes to grow into your best self. The truth is, it's not easy. Trying to grow when almost everyone has been telling you things about yourself that really weren't true, especially when we were young. And so your potential and your power in human being is much greater than what you've been conditioned to think that it is. And as a result, maybe you are like I was. I didn't believe in myself fully. And I want you to know that there's nothing wrong with you. Right? I want you to know that I believe in you and your potential. Now you might say, man, you don't even know me. And in one way, that's true. But in another way, I do know you because I am you and you are me. I know you because we have a common experience here in America. I know you because your soul, like my soul, wants to grow. And that's in our human nature. And I know you because there's something your creator has put in you that is your greatness, your human excellence. And everybody has it. And unfortunately, most people have not learned to see themselves properly. They see themselves the way others saw them and put ideas in you and us that weren't true. So the truth is, it's not easy in this world. And the truth is, there's nothing wrong with you. So who am I? I mean, the great thing about this particular offering is I've invited my friends, my family, my students, the people I love. Got some new people we met last week in Atlanta at the National Black MBA Association, which is really cool that you're showing up. Thank you so much. But I am Dr. Z, for those who don't know me. Greeting you in light, love, peace, and harmony. And I thank you for being here and I appreciate your presence. I've taught, trained, or coached over 30,000 students over the years. God sent through me and wrote a #1 Amazon bestseller, which was also in the top 10 of New York Times best books for 2021. I've written additional books on self-leadership and happiness and training programs to go with them. And I've come to know that the reason I'm here now is to help high achieving African-American women and men, business leaders who are ready for more, to come out of the shadows of average and finally create the purpose-filled business and life they deserve with the unshakable clarity and courage so they can finally make their money impact and personal fulfillment goals come true. And that's the mission that we are on. But before we get into the meat of this presentation, would it be okay if I share some of my story with you? Hey, Monica, we see you. Great to be here. And Walter, thank you for coming. Welcome. So in the past, I served as a corporate trainer in the organization development and training team at worldwide consulting firm, Booz Allen, Hamilton, McLean, Virginia. And you know, those of you in corporate, you know, corporate sticks you in a box and they try to leave you there. So after 4 years, I didn't see any advancement. I didn't see any growth. So I left. I was fed up with feeling devalued in corporate America, the lack of trust, right? I felt like I had to be somebody else in order to fit in. Any of y'all know what I'm talking about here? Hey, Kadira, welcome. If y'all know what I'm talking about, just, make this as interactive as possible, right? So I bounced around to smaller consulting firms, and then in 2001, started my own training development systems, training development business called Development Training Systems. First few years, we earned 6 figures consistently, and then it became a roller coaster ride. Thanks, Monica, for acknowledging the corporate wheel. In any event, it was a roller coaster ride financially, and then in 2010, I had to take a job for 7 years. But I survived, and we had enough freedom to live indoors and raise 2 children, had regular vacations, and even got to support my dad when he was sick. We started the business again in 2016. Some of you all know my story. You've been with us long enough. Yes, hey, Lynn, welcome. Well, fast forward to 2020, my wife and I decided to move from Washington, D.C. to San Francisco Bay Area to support our son, his wife, and our grandchildren. Talk about dark night of the soul. I became depressed while we were planning, packing, and selling the house. And it continued for several months after the move. You see, I was totally moving out of the known comfort zone into the unknown. I left everything that was familiar to me. Loss and fear of leaving my hometown, my family, my worship community, clients, lifelong friends, and starting all over again at the young age of 65 years old. No retirement funds, no job, no clients, no prospects, no income. And we got to California March 17th, 2020. The pandemic started in full effect on the next day. So my mindset was in a deep suffering state. Now, I know I'm sharing some of my scars with you and I'm being vulnerable, but there's a reason for that. So you might ask the question, well, what did you do, Zayd? Hey, I had to take unemployment. I applied for over 250 jobs and no one would hire me. They kept saying you're overqualified. I didn't know, or you didn't know the latest technology in the field. So in my prayers and crying and begging to God for relief, I found a formula for resilience in the divine guidance. It explained that throughout all times, humanity is in a state of loss and fear. And I was experiencing it in the worst way. In fact, the whole country and world was experiencing extreme loss and fear, reevaluating what was important in life. But the formula gave an exception, which is those who are faithful, which is defined as calm and secure, truthful, sincere, and living in integrity, plus producing something that's useful, plus mutual cooperation in truth and patience. So I began to implement the formula. I produced a program on resilience. I taught it to a small group of friends, and they began to have major breakthroughs. And as I moved in this resilience format, I attended other trainings. I found Dr. Joe Dispenza's teaching meditations. I studied and did those morning, evening meditations for 60 days. I bought and completed a program by Bob Proctor. I was trying everything, y'all. Then I found David Bayer's Mind Hack program online. I bought it, devoured it in 7 days, and the epiphany is I discovered how critical developing the right mindset is for business and for life. I kept doing the inner work on myself and everything turned around. The new mindset, I began to experience more clarity, more confidence, and more power, and got better results. So it's no surprise Because all the great spiritual teachers told us about the power of the mind and personal development. Muhammad the Prophet, he said that the greatest struggle, the greatest effort is the effort over your own self. Jesus' mindset was humility and submission to God's will. The Bible says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The Quran tells us, we have made the signs and miracles clear to you so that you will use your intelligence. Buddha, what you think you become, what you feel you attract, what you imagine you create. And Gandhi, happiness is when you think, happiness is when what you think and what you do are in harmony. So this new mindset gave me the perspective and energy to get back to my true self. Change was slow at first, then day by day built momentum. So now we are here today. But you know, we've been conditioned by the old way of thinking that's not true. Things like, you can figure it out on your own. Do it by yourself. You can find an external solution to solve your problem. You don't have a problem. You just need to manage your time better. Everyone has to struggle to get to the top. Business strategies alone can help you achieve greater success. So we chase after others' strategies that don't work for us. Nothing worth having will come easy to you. And this is my favorite one here. The key to feel more valuable and to be heard is through gaining more knowledge, degrees, certificates, and training. Now, have any of you ever heard that stuff before? If you have, just type in the chat, old way, old way. And which ones have you heard? Thank you. We're going to keep rolling. Because we've heard that stuff. We've done that. We've been there and we got the t-shirt for it. But there's a new way that I've learned through this transformation process. First is, you might be hustle man. Hey, thank you. Thank you, Casey. You might be hustle man or you might be hustle woman, but you can't out hustle your mindset. That's a fact. The solution is not external. It's internal. Yes. Taha says the old way. So the problem that we think is the problem is actually not the problem. This is part of the new way. Fear is really feedback to show you what you're good at. Another part of the new way is you already have everything you need inside of you. And God won't change your external condition until you change what is within your own soul. High levels of intelligence and creativity come from unlocking your real talents. And there's nothing wrong with you. You are good enough as you are. So from all these experiences, the main things I learned is first, I could change limiting beliefs into new empowering decisions. I stopped thinking like an employee, limiting myself, and I healed my own stinking thinking from the past. Mindset played the biggest role in learning and doing the basic business principles to grow myself and the business. And once I got my mind together, by God's permission and His grace, we've earned more money in the last 4 months than in the last year and a half. See, I drank the Kool-Aid. I've been in this industry, in this business for over 20 years, so I knew what I was looking at. And I drank the Kool-Aid, and I've been playing full out. Attended every virtual training, the morning prayers, remembrances, meditations. I even tried EFT. Anybody know what EFT is? It's called the Emotional Freedom Technique, tapping. I tried that. I studied Dr. Joe Dispenza, Abraham Hicks, Bob Proctor, and I kept teaching, writing, producing, following that formula, and mutually cooperating with others in truth and in perseverance and patience. I also learned that I had unintelligent thinking, y'all, like making assumptions that I could just get the book and do it myself. I was a black man with a doctorate degree. I could figure it out on my own. And wrong. Unintelligent thinking, right? In the past, I bought books and programs, I didn't even implement them. When I looked further, I saw that I was thinking that I wasn't good enough, that I didn't deserve more, that somehow I picked up this idea that I wasn't worthy of more success. Can anybody relate to what I'm saying here? If you can relate, please type relate in the chat. Thank you. So all I'm saying is, I understand where you are, where you might be. And this doesn't just apply to business. It applies to relationships. It applies to money. It applies to health, every area of our lives. Yeah. Relate. I can relate. Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is reality. Hamid, welcome. So what I've found is that many African Americans feel stuck. They're frustrated that they're not as far along as they think they should be. Because of this, they're feeling overwhelmed and unsupported and constantly doubting their abilities to make a change that would allow them to live a more fulfilling life and better take care of their families. I mean, what we really want is a business and a life that gives what I call soul satisfaction, where we're getting paid our worth, making a difference in the world, and spending our time making an impact on others, right? Isn't that what we want? But we think that the problem is that we don't have enough knowledge and skills to make the business work. We believe there's not enough time in the day to prioritize the growth of the business, personal well-being, and taking care of their families. So they end up reading more books, taking more programs and courses, doing more research, becoming hoarders of knowledge and information that they never even use. But the real problem is that they haven't developed that invincible mindset for personal growth. My first coach 21 years ago, David Herdlinger, he said something to me. He said, Zayd, if you want better customers, you have to be a better person. So I'm sharing the truth with you today. If you want better customers, if you want a better position, you want better relationships, better health, you got to become a better person. And they know, we know that we've got everything to succeed, but they don't know how to put all the pieces together and make it work. They need to get out of their own way and realize just how powerful they are. And realize that 80% of their success is mindset. And they don't need any more strategies or information. What's missing is accountability and support to stop trying to figure it out on their own and get the push. Sometimes it's hand-holding, sometimes it's a kick in the butt to take the right action on the things that they say they want. And they need a system to follow with clear directions to start seeing momentum in their business and their life. Something that's simple to implement and it's repeatable. And invest in themselves to get the support and accountability required to build a business, to live and love the life, and to find that soul satisfaction that they so desperately crave. So today, I want to share with you one of the 3 secrets that I've discovered. We're not going to take time to share all of them. But the first secret, there's only one strategy that will powerfully move the needle and get you out of the not far along track that you're in. And it's not something you can get from another book, program, or training. What is that one strategy? That one strategy is increase consciousness in the suffering to start using higher intelligence. Because you see, the greatest threat to achieving our full potential is failure to understand and extinguish our own personal suffering. So this training was sparked by 2 questions. The first is, what is required to move to greater levels of consciousness, intelligence beyond self-awareness? And the second question is, what's required to unlearn and transform unintelligent patterns of thinking that have been hardwired into our brains and our bodies. Anybody interested in the answers to those questions? Yes, we hope so. Thank you. But I want to start with definition. Why? Because definition gives direction, and direction leads to your destiny. So what is consciousness? How would you define it? Anybody, put in the chat. What would be your definition of consciousness? I feel like that. Hey, Andrea, I feel like that song. All right, we got some answers coming in. Yes, yes, yes. Let's see. We have, Monica says awareness. Charlene says yes. Lynn, state of being. Hamid, attorney of knowledge of self. Kadira, awareness. Adair, Bilal, awareness. Zarina, being aware. Okay. Abdul Wahid, be aware of what is going on around you and in you. Andrea says eager. Brenda, awareness of self. You all are right on it. Because when you look at it, awareness is the key, but it's also aware of one's own existence, aware of your sensations, your thoughts, and your surroundings. I think Brother Tar has said what's around you. And the synonym of consciousness is the capacity to think, to reason, and intelligence. So you see, there are different types of consciousnesses, though, promoted in this world. There's gender consciousness, there's race consciousness, age consciousness, sexual orientation consciousness, money consciousness, religion consciousness. And people tend to resonate with one or more of these consciousnesses. And so they talk now about people having multiple identities. You know, you're a Muslim and a woman, or a Muslim, you're a Christian and a woman, you're an African American and a woman, or what, on and on and on and on and on. But the problem that I see with those consciousnesses is that they separate us from our common human consciousness. And we see ourselves as separate. And that's the problem. Because separation moves us into loss and fear and leads us to the primal state and suffering. I mean, didn't separation do that in the pandemic in a huge way? Yes. Thank you. So back in my doctorate program, we studied a book called Pedagogy of the Oppressed by this Brazilian educator named Paulo Freire. And pedagogy means the art of teaching children. He talked about two types of consciousnesses. One is oppressor consciousness. The second is oppressed consciousness. What is oppressor consciousness? Well, it's basically the desire to want to control things and to control people. Oppressor consciousness. Now, we see that everywhere around us, don't we? Yeah. I don't have time to start naming, but we see it. People want to oppress you. People have been oppressing us for over 400 years. And others. Anybody that's not in their dominant group. Right? Oppressed by Hollywood and white supremacy. And what they have. Well, the oppressed consciousness is that they want what the oppressor has. That's why, again, it's a vicious cycle. Hollywood, entertainment, white supremacy, right? And the oppressed people want what they have. So even back then, when I was studying this stuff, I was like, man, there's got to be an alternative. Because if that's the only two choices, you can't win. And so we were led to Dr. Thurman Fleet. He has an organization, it's concept therapy is what he teaches, and basically saying you can heal yourself with your ideas, with your thoughts. And he talks about the unknowable power that's in the universe that scientists, and theologians have different approach from different angles, but they both agree that there is an unknowable power in this universe. We call Allah, we call God. Some say universe, some say spirit, some say Jesus. I don't care what you want to call it, but it's an unknowable power. We can't know it fully. And Fleet talked about what I consider alternative, which is spirit consciousness. And it expresses itself in every level of creation. It expresses itself in human beings as intelligence. But that intelligence can be corrupted by the social and cultural influences, and it can become selfishness, faulty reasoning, and unintelligent thinking. So the distinction I want to make here is that spirit consciousness is in fact intelligence. And intelligence is consciousness. And it leads to fulfilling the human potential and power and energy that's been put in you by your creator. And those who have this type of consciousness, they have no fear of the future and they have no grief of the past. Divine guidance tells us, never does the Almighty Creator want to cause any kind of worry, anxiety, distress on you. Instead, he wants to purify you from weakness, shame, and disgrace for the purpose that he will perfectly execute his favor upon you all, thereby expecting that you will be grateful by acting like you are remembering his blessings, favors, and gifts, and praising him by them. So when I think on that, the worry, anxiety, and distress is what causes the weakness, the feelings of shame and guilt that lead to disgrace. The one who created you doesn't want any of that for you, but allows you to experience those things from your resistance to the truth in order to purify you and to give you more of his gifts and favors. To lead you to gratitude, which is remembering those gifts and blessings and then praising him by using them for the cause of greater goodness. Y'all with me? So the intellect asks the question, where does the worry, anxiety, and distress come from? It comes from a suffering state. So now here's the core distinctions we want to talk about on this topic of increasing consciousness and beyond. And these distinctions are powerful, they're profound. And I'm finding them to be life-changing, and those I've been working with find it to be life-changing when understood and practiced every day. And I learned this through my coach, David Bayer, and his coaching community. And that distinction is called the concept, two states of being, two states of emotional being. And there are four distinctions. Suffering is separate from experience. All suffering is caused by a certain type of thinking, which we define as unintelligent thinking. And there's one moment of transformation, which is the moment that you are able to see the unintelligent thinking. And that's the only cause of your suffering and preventing you from being in a powerful state and living in your personal power. So what are the two states? Well, there are powerful states like joy and excitement and curiosity and compassion, love, right? There are also primal states like stress, anxiety, boredom, overwhelm, anger, jealousy, etc. Now, you are always in one state or the other in any moment. And you cannot be in both states at the same time. Now, there's no judgment of being in a primal state or a powerful state. There's no right or wrong. But what we acknowledge is that everything we want is in or it comes from a powerful state. The creativity, the inspiration, the energy, the intuition, the intelligence, the thoughts and ideas you need to create what you want in your life only come from being in a powerful state. And when you're in suffering, you cut yourself off from all of that and from the reservoir of infinite intelligence that you have access to. So the key to having a powerful living experience and creating everything that we want in our lives is to spend as much time as possible in the powerful state. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, if you agree that everything we want comes from a powerful state, would you please type agree in the chat? Hey, Monica, Rosie, thank you. Agree. We got some agreement going on. Taha, Hamid, Lynn, yes. Thank you. Andrea, yes, thank you. Yes, Kenneth, that's Kadir. Agree. All right, so I want you all to write this down. Georgette, Dahlia, here's a note. Suffering is separate from the experience. Suffering is separate from the experience. What we've observed is that the suffering does not exist in nature and in the natural world. When we say suffering, we're not talking about when a cheetah takes down an antelope. That's temporary pain that doesn't last long. We're talking about the kind of psychological suffering that most people are experiencing day in and day out for most of their lives. I mean, think about it, right? Yes, that's right, Lynn. Suffering is separate from the experience. Now think about it. You don't see squirrels stressed out that they're not going to be able to find a nut. Birds aren't worried about whether they're not going to fly in the right direction or worried that they're flying in the wrong direction. Do you see flowers comparing themselves to other flowers? Of course not, right? But man is the only creature on the earth that has this unique ability to create suffering in a world where suffering doesn't naturally exist. Now, I just need to check in. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down here? Are y'all following what we're saying? Thank you. So, if suffering is the problem and it's disconnecting us from our personal power while also causing us to experience emotions that don't feel good, the natural question is, what's causing the suffering? I see you all following. Thank you. What's causing the suffering? Well, here's a note for you. The only cause of suffering is your own thinking. Let me repeat that. All of the suffering is caused by one thing and one thing only, which is your own thinking. There isn't any suffering in any experience. The suffering comes from what you think about the experience. Right? Serena says, not letting go and letting God. Yeah. The suffering comes from what you think about the experience, the meaning that you give an experience. And we can reference my story earlier. The experience was selling a house and moving. But I gave meaning to the experience of loss and fear. And that put me in a suffering state, and that put me into depression. Can you see it? Have any of you all ever been let go from a job? Do you remember how that was? I mean, let's use an example. We take two people in the same situation. Both of them got fired from their jobs. Now, one person thinks that this is the end. They're never going to get another job. They're never going to be able to pay their bills. They won't be able to pay their mortgage. They won't be able to support their family. Nobody is hiring. Can you see that that person moves into suffering? Yeah. Now take the same situation. Take another person who believes that life is always working for them. They think that perhaps an even better opportunity is going to show up. They look at their situation, they realize that they were kind of stuck in that job anyway. It was an okay job, but they weren't growing. So now they have an opportunity to grow and to find something even better. And they realize that. Although it might be a little scary, they're going to be just fine. More than that, it's an opportunity for them to create something extraordinary. Now, that person thinking like that, they're operating from a powerful state. So which person do you think is going to be more likely to find another great job? Who do you think will be more resourceful, creative, and inspired? Huh? And remember, the brain is a goal-achieving machine. Whatever you put your attention on will show up in your life. Who's going to have a more enjoyable experience in that journey? Of course, it's going to be the person that's in the powerful state, right? So here's another note for you. All suffering is caused by unintelligent thinking. All suffering is caused by unintelligent thinking. So a really powerful truth that David has discovered, and he discovered it, but I also resonated from my own experience and see if it resonates with you. When he looked at the suffering in his own life, and he looked at the suffering in the lives of thousands of people that he's worked with, and saw that there was a pattern to this thinking that caused the suffering. And in every single case, working with people and looking at the thinking, he found that the thinking wasn't actually true. And that thinking is the cause of the suffering. What he realized, and I believe it from my own experience, is that the truth is that moment by moment, right? Sometimes it doesn't seem like it, but moment by moment, any thoughts that we have that's putting in us in the suffering state is not even true. Because I believe the truth is the intelligence in life, in every moment, is working for us to create the greatest prosperity, growth, expansion, evolution, and joy. And anytime we give a meaning to an experience that is other than that, when we believe that something is a problem, or that an experience is bad, or that a situation has somehow limited us and our capacity to create an amazing future, then we move into suffering. Because it's not even true, y'all. The intelligent design of the human being, the human life, includes what we call an emotional guidance system. And when you're engaged with thoughts that aren't aligned with the truth of reality, with what is in Arabic al-haqq, right? Then your brain and nervous system moves you into suffering as a way of signaling to you that your thinking is off. And you're giving a meaning to a situation that's simply not true. And with all that, we can observe and see, here's another note for you. There is one moment of transformation. In the moment you see your unintelligent thinking as unintelligent, that's the moment of transformation. And that's our approach. And by transformation, I mean real permanent brain change that transforms who you are and what you create in your life. Unlike a lot of other personal development frameworks, we're not talking about convincing you of a new story or temporarily shifting your state with affirmations alone. Those methods don't create permanent change. It's a temporary change. But then those things will pop up again in another time, in another place. But I've learned it's the same old BS. Anyone know what I'm talking about here, right? Yeah. It's the moment that you are able to see your own thinking, the unintelligent thinking that's causing you suffering, as truly unintelligent. The moment you experience your own thinking as untrue, there's an immediate shift in your brain and a shift in your thinking. And we're talking science here, right? We didn't pull this out of our nose. This is backed up by neuroscience, brain science. Okay, time's getting away from me. So working around these two states of being and acknowledging that all suffering is a result of unintelligent thinking is about observing your own thinking until you see that it doesn't make any sense at all. And in that moment, you free yourself from suffering and move back into a powerful state where everything that you want is already there. So increasing consciousness and beyond. What is the beyond? Increasing this consciousness is beyond self-awareness. But what is beyond increasing consciousness? Well, there's a distinction. I was talking to my friend, some of you know him, man, Fahim Shuaib. And I'm quoting him. He said, the consciousness is an ocean to swim in every day. See, everything is one. When you look at the heavens and the earth to see if there are any flaws or splits or seams, then look again and you'll see there's no separation. Everything is one, but we've been conditioned by those other consciousnesses to think that we're separate. And that's the problem. The universe is an extension of consciousness. Things that you see are made from things that you don't see. In quantum physics scientists, they say that the base of everything is consciousness. So that means everything, spiritual, everything, material is consciousness. And everything is created with truth, not falsehood. Everything is the true reality, and things are the way they're supposed to be. Our consciousness is one with that greater consciousness beyond us. And when you plug into that intelligence, that consciousness, then it supports you with truth. Coincidences show up, people show up, things show up, because you put your brain and attention on what it is that you really want that's within truth. So your intelligence now is hooked up with the greater intelligence in the universe that's here to support you. So consciousness is the true reality. And we engage consciousness with our beliefs and our thoughts. They're either false and unintelligent, or they are true and intelligent in any moment. So you make an intention, and it begins to take form in the spiritual world, and it comes into the intelligence, the conscious world, and the subconscious, and the unconscious in your body. So when you identify the unintelligent thinking as unintelligent and false, when you shift to intelligent thinking and you engage the consciousness in you and beyond to support you, then you get ideas and thoughts to produce what you want in your business and your life. Your perception changes as the brain pays attention to opportunities aligned with those new beliefs, and the coincidences and synchronicities show up. Right? We got to trust and we got to obey. Now, some of you here I've worked with, you've had some major breakthroughs, but there's something another person said I just want to share with you. She said, I just wanted to thank you. Your program has helped me tremendously. The program showed me that I have a choice of whether to be happy or not. I have been on a journey looking for ways to improve my life for some time. The process gave me something to focus on each day throughout the program and showed me that I didn't have to visit my past, dreading up feelings that made me feel bad about myself and others. Yeah, that was Fern. We have more social proof, but we don't need to go into it now. You know, there's a cost of inaction. There's a cost of not moving when it's time for you to move. And I just want to say to you, my friends, thank you for being here. And I want to say that you have a choice. You know, I mean, I've had an amazing time with you, sharing this stuff with you, and I'm hoping that you've had an amazing time too, right? I mean, how many of you have gotten a lot out of this presentation? If you did, put something in the chat for me. But I can only cover so much in 50 minutes. You can take all that I've shared with you and you can forget it. You can keep using suffering mindsets and strategies that don't work. You can keep scratching your head and wondering what happened. But let me ask you a question. I mean, this stuff has been pretty cool, right? I mean, You've had some fun during this hour. At least I've had some fun. I hope you have too. But an hour is not a long time. How would you like it if you could work with me directly so I can help you implement what we just talked about? How cool would it be if we could draw out of you your potential and your power and put together a simple strategy and plan for the next few months, help you understand and extinguish your own personal suffering? I think it'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? How many of you think that would be amazing? If you do, type amazing in the chat. But you have a choice. And some of you might be thinking, I don't want to do it. I don't work with you, Zayd. I don't want to do it. That's fine. But what is it you don't want? You don't want to live more often in a powerful state? You don't want to end suffering to start using higher intelligence? You don't want a better life and more success? I mean, I told you my story where I was just 2 years ago and how I've gotten to where I am now. And I know it'll work for you. Some of you may say, I don't have time. You don't have time not to do this. What's the reason? Thinking about time is what's holding you back. Thinking that you don't have enough time. Either way you go, you're where you are, and you can decide to go further or not. But now is the time to prepare for the future that you want. Some of you thinking, I don't have any money. Well, what's the truth? You have money to do everything you want to do in your life. Some of y'all, you spend thousands of dollars on vacation. I know you do because I do the same thing. You go to Ghana, back to the motherland, walk through the door of no return, get inspired. Some of you go to university, take a course or a degree, which you don't even get nothing back from spending all that money on those courses. I know, I've been at every level of education you can go. You learn just enough to pass the test, but not be able to apply it in your life. You know? And Warren Buffett said the best investment is the investment you make in yourself. And others say, I can't do it. I can't change. Well, what's the truth? Isn't it true you can do anything you put your mind to and you commit to? Thank you. So, we're here to help you learn and master the game of life beyond where you are. Increase your consciousness and beyond. In the suffering, start using higher intelligence. You don't have to wait till you're 50, 60, 70, or 80 to do it. So I want to call you to action, right? If there's anything in this training that resonates with you and you are serious about growing to live more of your potential and your power, then you're invited to have a 30-minute call with me to learn more about you, your goals, where you might be stuck, how you can get unstuck, and see if we're fit for each other. Again, most of you all know I invited the people that I know, that I love, that my students, those that I've worked with. That's who you all are. And we've been taught you got to want for your brother and sister what you want for yourself. And we're on this road of tremendous transformation. And I'm really wanting to build a community of us who are increasing the consciousness in the world because there's too much suffering going on, right? All of us have a mission, right? And this is what God has given us to do. So if you heard anything that you say was the truth today and you're ready for a call, then type the word call in the chat. I'm going to open up a few slots on my calendar over the next 2 weeks to have these calls with you. So if you want to learn more, just type call in the chat. I'll reach out to you, or you can send me an email at universalselfleadership@gmail.com, and I'll reach back for you. So what I want to say is, I thank you, I love you, and God continue to bless you. Amen.